You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We're coming for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talk 'em in the Building. Welcome to Wrestlemania season. We're right here on the edge of Wrestlemania, y'all. And, you know, they've had a lot of promos to break down. But before we get into that, I want to say hello to my fellow AT alien, Adrian. What's going on with you?
What's up, man? What's up to the listeners? And what's up out of league?
And then out of lead over on the West Coast out there in Los Angeles, City of Angels, babe. What's going on with you?
Oh man, we're living it. We're enjoying the Wrestlemania season right now. Shout out to East Coast Adrian, Greg, living it up. And this is the time of year that brings us together every time, right? So excited to get into it.
Yep.
For sure. We've had a lot of things to talk about. I know there's been a lot of chatter online, but for anybody who's new, this is Talk 'em in the Building. All we talk about are the promos. We pontificate on the promo, hype the hype men, and talk about the talkers. I think I got it all out of order. That's out of Lee's catchphrases. I try my best, but hey, I got them in there, I think. Right? That's what we got to get our ifs in, right? That's what we got to do. So it got in there. Before we get too far into it, make sure you like, subscribe, comment what you think about this. But we're going to jump right into it, guys. We've had a lot of controversy this past week with the Tiffany, Stratton, and Charlotte Flair promo. But before we dive into the most recent one, I'm going to take us back. I kind of took some notes on a few things and went back to look at this whole process. But before we do, I mean, this was kind of a dream scenario, right? When Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble. Oddly, I'm going to come to you first. Were you hoping it was going to be that she would choose Tiffany? And so far, without breaking down anything, has it lived up to the hype?
Without breaking down anything, I think what happened at the last promo, the promo we're going to get into tonight, I think that elevated it. I think that controversy, I think that peek behind the scenes, you know, I wasn't aware of it. I don't think any of us were aware of it, anything bubbling to that extent. But up until then, I was surprised in the sense that it seemed like they had built up the women's division differently. And in hindsight, it makes sense, right? Here we have someone with pedigree in Charlotte Flair, someone who, you know, through injury and whatnot has had some moments, you know, not quite go as planned. So all in all, I wasn't upset at it, but I just didn't see the path there. And with Tiffany, I think that's, you know, you got a real blue chipper, right? Someone that they're clearly invested in. And I didn't have any issues with, you know, the pair up. I thought it could be something. How they got there, that's something maybe we'll get into tonight.
Right.
For sure. Adrian, what you think?
Yeah, when Charlotte won the Rumble, I think it was a foregone conclusion that it was going to be her and Tiffy at Mania. And when it comes down to it, without echoing all of what Adelise said, iron sharpens iron. That's the best opportunity if you really do pick Tiffy as next up. She needs to be made, essentially. And out of the women talent that was available, Charlotte is one of the better options. And, you know, not everyone's a fan, but it is what it is. You hold up Charlotte's resume to anyone in the industry, and she's one of the best of the best. So it makes sense. The feud kind of started off a little shaky. I think I had personally had questions about how invested Charlotte was to the feud. She seemed very disinterested, but then it started to kick up a little bit, and I think that's just been a challenge with this year's Mania overall. With a lot of the matches, it's been a late start for a lot of this stuff. A lot of what maybe I'm just used to Royal Rumble knowing what every match is, but with this Mania in particular, it seems like a lot of here you go, here you go, here you
Yeah.
go, like week after week, and it's kind of weird. It's just weird. Maybe it's just I just got to get used to how Triple H envisions the road to WrestleMania versus what we were used to with Vince.
Well, I think one big thing with this year, that road is much longer.
Yes,
I mean, we're looking at
This is true. Yep.
April 28th, or that time frame. Normally, it's early April, sometimes even
that's true.
March.
Yeah.
And really, when people think about it, it's really not that different. Normally, it's the week after the Masters. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that, but normally it's the week after the Masters because that's when no sports stuff is going on. So this year it's 2 weeks after the Masters, so a little bit different. Or I'm sorry, a week after the Masters, also
Correct.
on Easter weekend. It'll be very interesting to see what that crowd looks like. But
Mm-hmm.
much longer runway from the Rumble and a big runway from Elimination Chamber. So I think it's different type of a challenge. It's almost like old school booking, right? You're going back to the late 80s or even
4
90s.
pay-per-views.
Yeah, we only had the 4
Yeah.
pay-per-views and it took forever to get there. But let's jump back. So I took a few notes. I went back to February 7th. That's the first time they had their Tiffany came out there and basically said, Charlotte, pick me, which I thought was weird. I always thought it was kind of like, why is the challenger saying this? So they put Charlotte on a pedestal. I believe, personally, Charlotte came in thinking she's going to be the fan favorite. It's going to be all this fanfare. I think Triple H thought the same thing. I think they thought she's going to come in and everybody's like, yes, she's here. And right away, she got the entitled push. Here I go. I showed up. I got the Batista push, right? Batista years ago, everybody was happy he was coming back. Then he wins a Rumble. Like, oh, really? I mean, this is not what we wanted. We don't mind having him here, but we didn't want this. And during that promo, what got me is Charlotte said to her, I see a little child in front of me. The moment she gets in there, she doesn't put the champion over. She downgrades the champion. She makes it look as though she's the bigger star. And to me, that just set the wrong tone from the get-go. We talk about promos all the time, and we've talked about others. MJF, we were speaking about how he downs people, and then when he wins, did he beat anybody?
Right.
You got to build up your challengers. You got to build that other person up. I listened to Kevin Owens on a promo interview recently. He said the same thing. You don't down your opponent. If I tell you you're weak, if I tell you you're old, if I tell you you're no good, and then I beat you, then I beat somebody who was old, who was no good, who was weak.
Right.
But if I lose to you, oh my gosh, then I got lost to somebody who was old and weak. So now here's Charlotte all immediately jumping in there. I think the crowd shook her. I don't think that she expected Tiffy Time to be as over and against her as it was. But that's that first week. I mean, she really said, "Hey, Charlotte, pick me," because she gave a reason. I didn't like it, but she's like,
Right.
"I was compared to you from the day I got here,
Yeah.
and my goal is to beat you." And now it becomes all about me, not about me being the next you. I'm going to jump to the second week because the next week is when Charlotte actually picks her, right after a beatdown from Nia Jax. She puts a chair next to her. She sits down, and she's just so degrading to her, talking down. And fine, it's the character, right? I felt like it took way too long. She was so condescending, and I didn't like it. She's like, "I pick you, Tiffy," and like just the whole. I didn't feel like they were building up Tiffany at all. So I'm going to kind of pause right there. Those first 2 weeks, Adrian, what did you think about? If you remember back to those, what were your reactions?
Well, my reaction is like you said. Charlotte was under the guidance or the thought process that she was going to be over in this as a babyface challenger. That's been honestly my biggest issue with both competitors. Is it seems as though both of them are in weird positions with the fans, in character wise, because Tiffy, even though she is the baby face in
Mm-hmm.
this, her character is not a baby face at all. Like her character is very confusing. Her character is a mean girl, essentially. And I don't know of anyone that was in high school and liked Mean Girls or cared for that kind of attitude. That's what Tiffy is. And it's nothing that's redeeming or that makes her a baby face other than the fact of, well, we don't like Charlotte. I mean, we dislike Charlotte more than what we should dislike you. Like, that's a weird dynamic as a character. But going back to your question, it definitely seemed as though WWE assumed that people were going to be more excited about Charlotte's return and Charlotte winning the Rumble and challenging Tiff than what they ultimately just put out there. I think fans and the WWE or online chatter more so has been more of a rejection of Charlotte versus what they assumed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really unfortunate to me.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
as much as the chatter right now is like, oh, Charlotte is going into business for herself. It's Tiffany's reaction and whatnot. She's been off for a year. I mean, realistically, right? So there's got to be some rust, first of all.
Right.
So you're gonna get shaken up, right? She's not a punk, right? She's never been known purely as a mic person. She grew into it, right, through that NXT era, and certainly worthy of a main event spot in any other timeline. But I think this is a rejection of the fans of saying, here is a roster full of women that have built eventually this division, and you're no better than the part-timers. You just came in and took that spot. When in reality, if you're booking an event for money, she is the name brand. She should be bringing the crowd. I don't. And if you go back in more recent interviews, you think about the personal side of it all. That divorce that leaked out was not supposed to leak out on her re-debut, and it lined up, right, and that's really unfortunate for me because again, we want to separate the character, we want to separate the personal life, and hopefully not have it tarnish anything else. So I think there's some element there. She did the media rounds and whatnot, but purely as a character speaking, I will echo that I don't think there were any favors done on either side. Maybe Charlotte trying to overcompensate for not being around, not getting the reaction she got. But also Tiffany hasn't been around that long. Like, this is trial by fire by all aspects. I mean, here you are in the biggest stage of your life, and maybe the other side isn't playing fully fair as far as we can tell. Right?
Yeah. Interesting you said that. I'm going to bring something else up in a few minutes about that, because the next piece which was on March 21st, is they did a split screen.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's
and
when it
this
picked up.
to me is when I felt like Charlotte was thrown off. Not just because of the crowd, because she kept over talking, and she wouldn't let her talk. And when people start to over talk, they're in their feelings, they're in their emotions, and I was like, man, because I put in here, she kept interrupting, she kept cutting Tiffany off, and these banters sometimes need that interruption to make it sound natural.
For
But
sure.
there's other times, at the end of the day, you got to let that person get their point out. You got to. That's the business. Um, but I felt like during that one is when Tiffany gained some confidence on the microphone, because she's always been kind of that, never been in the high profile situation, especially against somebody with this star power. But I felt like by the end of it, she started to gain a little bit of confidence. But the next week is the one I'm actually going to show.
The WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany, let's be real. Charlotte, she came at you pretty hard last week. I mean, it had a lot of people talking. Yeah, people talk, Jackie. And Charlotte loves to hear herself talk. I mean, 10 years into the business, and she's so insecure that she can't let a rookie get a word out. But last week, I did learn something. I learned that walking into Wrestlemania, I'm not the one that has something to lose here. The truth is, if I lose, then I lose to Charlotte Flair, the legend, as a 25-year-old rookie with a year being on SmackDown. But if Charlotte Flair loses, well, then she loses to a undeserving, delusional, unoriginal, backflip doing, blonde hair having little girl. Did I get it all, Jackie?
And that's exactly what we just talked about.
Yep.
That we were saying that, so she just threw it right back at you. So if I win, I beat Charlotte Flair, the star. So she just put Charlotte over. But what did she flip back? She said, "This is what you said about me. So if you win, if you lose, you lost to a baby. If you win, you beat a baby." I love the fact she threw that in there, and I felt like if you see her delivery there, it was much more confident and much more of a flow. But I love the fact of how she threw that back in her face. What's y'all's reaction to that one?
I think it's ballsy because that was a digital segment. It felt like it was not necessarily intended initially for the main show. And maybe that's where she needs more relaxed too, right? When she doesn't have the crowd on top of her, when she doesn't have things to remember, it's off the cuff and it's coming from the heart. Ultimately, right? The best promos we know are coming from the heart, and she feels slighted. And now I'm more Team Tiffy than most of the crowd, like everybody else is, because she is really the underdog, right? I mean, it's whatever they thought. Look, it's heel baby, it's a weird baby face on Tiffy's part, but it still is because you got to know more than half the crowd's going to be rooting for one or the other at this point. When that was not by design. But going back to her reaction is, this is someone, again, it's a trial by fire, but someone that is growing by the week, right? And it's there. And I don't know if somebody else would have, maintained their composure or even been able to elevate themselves the way that she has, at within relative reason.
Adrian, what do you think?
Pressure's on Charlotte. Like, she completely flipped the narrative to put Charlotte in a lose-lose situation, essentially. Yeah. It's like, you beat me, you should have beat me. If I beat you, then we're really talking. We see it on the sports end of, where we just finished March Madness and you have that scrappy 16 seed that's facing the 1 seed. If Sam Houston puts up a fight against Duke, then hey, they did what Duke should have blown them out. It's a lose-lose situation for the favorite. So I do like how they messed around with the narrative of Charlotte being, all pressures on Charlotte. Yeah. Based on that promo, all pressure is on Charlotte.
And what's interesting, it leads into the next promo, which is obviously we've all seen it, right? Where WWE would cut out the end of it, where Charlotte was getting the Dom treatment, where she was just getting booed out of that building, and she tried her best to pander to those fans. Yeah, right here, the smartest fans in the country in Chicago, and they just booed the crap out of her. And then later on, she said, "They were booing. Oh, this is so cool." No. At that point, you were so flustered. You could tell she got so far off her game. And even when Tiffy said, "What's wrong? Cat gas your tongue?" And it's to where Charlotte just said, "You just finish it up." And you could tell she was just so frustrated. Those are little pieces that people don't remember, but she just said, "You finish it. You get the last word." And it was like, wow, that was huge. And then she just
gave up.
She did. She did. Gave up. But watching her expressions, going back, because it's what we do, y'all. We just talk about the promos, right? We read into them and everything. Watching Charlotte's expressions, when she hit her with the talk show line about, "You were just boo-hooing on a talk show. Who is it? So which one are you?" You could tell that bothers her. Oh, yeah. You could see it because she's of that ilk of, I'm the superstar. I feel like I don't think she's always been this way, but she's been that person that I'm Ric Flair's daughter. I'm the next great thing, and I'm getting pushed to the world and all these different things. And she's good. Let's don't get it twisted. She is good,
Hmm.
but I would argue her best programs were with Sasha.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond that, she's not even come close to what she was doing with her. But I thought it was very interesting when you could see in her face she was just so flustered and had no idea what to do. And as I'm watching this, because she is of that pedigree of Ric Flair,
Hmm.
she is, you know, his daughter and has been brought up in this whole business, through NXT. And let's call it what it is. Once she got to NXT, she's had a silver spoon, which is fine, right? Nepo, whatever. I mean, Cody, a lot of them have had that same type of treatment. I can never picture Flair standing there being flustered,
Yeah.
ever.
Yep.
Or a lot of these superstars being flustered like that, and she was so caught off her game. And then Tiffany was like a lion, like, oh, my prey is there, and I'm just going for it. And I remember I saw Tiffy say something later that said it's live TV. And that's something The Rock had said years ago. If you ever go back and watch some of The Rock's documentaries, he would always screw up pre-tapes because he wanted to do it live.
Mm.
Because he knew whatever he did live, they couldn't take it back.
That's what mattered.
Yeah.
And it was always, there's a bunch of things, bunch of documents or documented video where he would screw it up on purpose to where they had no more time and they had to go live. And so I think that's what Tiffy said. All right, screw this. We're going down this. Makes me curious what happened in the background. But when she hit her with that 0-3 piece,
Ooh.
it was like, dang. But to me, it elevated the whole program. Whether it was scripted, not scripted, or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't care. It's like it elevated the whole thing. So yeah, what would you guys like when y'all first heard those closing lines? I mean, like that last piece, Adrian. What were you thinking?
I mean, to be honest, man, I think I'm gonna push back on you on the sense that Charlotte is in a position where she's just completely flustered and it gets personal and all of that. Because if you got all of us remember early in her career when she had a feud with Paige. Paige took a really personal shot
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of us were thrown off on, where she mentioned Reed Flair
Mm-hmm.
and his untimely death and all of that. I kind of think the 0-3 thing was kind of greenlit by Charlotte, because
The
I
read
kind of,
was. I don't think 0-3 was.
you
The
don't think so?
the read
Because
comment was greenlit.
okay.
I
No,
do know that.
I think both were. I think with just going the same point of this is Ric Flair's daughter. She's been brought up throughout the business. If anybody should understand, like, hey, this isn't personal, even though it's a personal shot, it's not personal, it's business. It should be Charlotte Flair. It should be Cody Rhodes. It should be Roman Reigns. These people that were brought up throughout the business. Like, if anybody should be able to accept a personal shot, it should be those people versus all of this other talent that they're new. They're first generation people. Their parents should have put them on game about this. So I think even though it looked some type of way, I think it's a lot of us fans that took it more personally than what Charlotte did. That's my feeling, because I do think this is Ric Flair's daughter. Like, if she should be the smartest person in the building, in my opinion, when it comes to how the business goes and how shots go. And if we need to turn up this feud with a little personal dig here or there, then rock and roll. I think if this was unexpected, the only reason why I don't think it's unexpected is because Andrade was never named. Tiff had the opportunity to name Andrade. because Charlotte named Tiffy's guy, right? She named him. Tiffy, if she wanted to be petty, if she wanted to really take a personal dig, she could have said, "Hey, you and Andrade didn't work out. What's up with that?" Like if we're going really insider.
Yeah, but I think that's the side of the professionalism. He didn't need to be named.
Mm.
And the professionalism is there's no advantage for me to name him. At the end of it, plus I don't know that there's a whole lot of, I mean, obviously the quote unquote smarks know it, but they put it out there about, like, there's been on digital and stuff like that about Tiffy's guy, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And here's why I say a pushback. There's a theory that says yes, she should. Keep in mind, she didn't want to be a wrestler. She only got into this for her brother.
Right.
And according to what you hear, she never liked it anyway, at all.
Mm-hmm.
She hated it. She hated that her dad was gone. She hated that it broke up their family, all kinds of other stuff. So if you think about it, she's really never been that great in any of her feuds, in my opinion, except with Sasha.
What about Rhea?
She left right after that. But in her first part of the feud with Rhea, she had to go over.
Yeah.
She had to go over with Sasha. Who didn't she go over with?
Oh,
Only one.
I can't. Yeah,
Becky.
Can't even. Becky, yeah, that makes
and
sense.
Becky
Yeah.
reamed that woman.
Yeah.
And that broke up their entire friendship, if you remember.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Drop championship and all.
Mm-hmm. So with that said, I'm going to bring something else into this that makes me even more think that this is why something about Charlotte.
All see the way things were going in 2019. Like people were really behind me,
This is her
really
talking about
rallying
her
behind
friendship
me,
with Charlotte.
and this turn would turn me into a different league, and I don't think she couldn't take that, and has never been able to take it since. And I think it's affected her work, even now. I think it's affected her. I think she's potentially one of the greatest, but I think I'm so in her head that she's lost it a bit. I think she's lost a step, because she's got that jealousy, and she's got that just that little devil on her shoulder, and that devil is me, always being one step ahead of her, and she doesn't like it.
So where I'm
You don't
going
think
with
she's
that,
working?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
well, here's where I'm going with that though. Tell me where's the false that Charlotte has to be that star.
Mm-hmm.
If Charlotte's not, this is just obviously guys. This is just us, shooting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Talking.
Right.
But we've seen it with males in the past that if they're not that
Right.
superstar, her dad was that way. If he's not at the tippy top, the motivation is not there.
Mm.
And for her, I feel like going back to Royal Rumble, yeah, people were happy to see her. But right after that, they crapped on her the moment she got out there in front of the mic the first time by herself. People don't like her, and it's an air about her. I think if she fit into it, she'd be the best heel in the world. But she was shaken. I think that she thought she was just going to bury this one. I think there's a strategy to put her against Tiffany as opposed to Rhea. To your point, Rhea is too big of a star. I think that they thought fans are just going to side with her, and when they didn't, she's been flustered.
Yeah. I want to say there has to be some element of acknowledgement on her part. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, I didn't want to jump in and cut anybody off, but she knows her character flaws, right? Both in the ring and out of the ring, and she's been very transparent with them at this go around. So I think there is some sense of communication between, behind the scenes. Triple H just has a hand in everything. You don't think he didn't know that they were going to work some element of a shoot, right? So that, I think, to your point, there were some green lights. What the extent of those green lights, I think we'll never really know. But I'll say this: it's working. We're talking about it, right?
Sure.
This is a feud that I had no investment in. I was fine with it. Mania's a little different this year. We have feels like it's a little bit of of a step back year almost in some ways, for some feuds, some elements of it. Like it's gonna build to, now that I'm thinking they book like years in advance. Now this feels like a 0.5 year in a way. And for her, she had to have a spot, right? It was just clearly Rhea is like, we can argue Rhea's probably the top, maybe the top wrestler in the company right now, male, female, whatever it is, right? So you're not going to do that. But I think there is some element of understanding there. But to your point, I don't think she can ever get to true babyface status. I don't think it's there. I don't think however you manipulate, however you make her feel vulnerable, she's trying. She did that Sherry Shepherd show. She has all these elements that she's trying to play into. The fans just don't want it. Can the fans have it? Yes, but there needs to be some redemption arc, some sense of, let me just play into, what we're all saying. Let's play into the heel. Let's just do that. Let's do that for a while. And have you be the monster heel, right? Be that parallel. Rio's going to be this, pseudo, whatever she wants to be. She's going to be popular. Right now with, she hasn't been around either. There's nothing for the fans to grasp onto. We don't know what she is, right? And it's not this. It's not this pettiness and I'm gonna go after the young blonde who doesn't have the experience. Like, no, play into who you are. You're the pedigree. You're gonna win the champion. You're gonna break championships and everything, and just be mean. And I don't think she wants to be that. I think she wants to be liked.
I agree. I think that's where the disconnect is, because I think if she really truly played into her quote unquote Ric Flair persona, I think that's her bread and butter, because she just has an unlikability about her, and I mean that in a good way. Like, I think probably if you saw any of that interview, she's very likable, but the one that she's on the talk show, I forgot what the lady's name was, where she was crying and whatever. She's very likable, but like when that camera comes on, she's not. And that's okay.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's other people who have the reverse. But
like arrogance button.
yeah, exactly. But it's like, man, I just wish you'd play into it, because she was magic with Sasha. And that's the thing that gets me going back to the whole Becky thing. Yes, there's some work in what she said, but I think there's also some truth, because I never thought they had the magic that Sasha and her had, because I think they truly got to a point where, but Sasha never outshined Charlotte. Vince made sure Charlotte stayed on top. If you ever think about it, when Sasha would win, she'd lose it back like a week later.
Yeah.
I mean, she never had that belt for any time.
It's true.
And once Becky got there, because Becky got hot.
That was so organic
too.
hottest.
Yeah, she was
So
the hottest
organic,
thing.
man.
And if you remember what happened then, they tried to make Becky a heel and Charlotte the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't work then either.
No.
So yeah, I think, but I am more excited about this program than I'm as excited about this program as I was in the beginning, before they started cutting promos. and then it was like, oh, this is just falling flat. And then after last week, and then this past weekend, last night or Friday night, Charlotte's beat down and all that kind of stuff, jumping, coming out there, that was good.
Because everything is so unpredictable, what do you think? What's the long-term play here? Because we got a healthy Charlotte, right? So she's chomping at the bit. She wants to work, right? You got Tiffany, who now has a complete chip on her shoulders, going to be elevated to a different stratosphere. Where do you go from here? Because you got a loaded women's division. You got a whole tag team match going on because they don't know what to do with them, right? How do you elevate the others? Let's bring everybody else in.
In my opinion, I mean, I'm going to back up and go to my fantasy booking. I wouldn't have put Charlotte over in the Rumble. Number one, just because I would have felt there would be a backlash. As soon as you return, boom, backlash. We've seen it over and over and over. We saw it with Cena. Everybody's excited when he came back that one time when he came back from his injury. Then he won. It's kind of like, here we go. Same thing. Same thing with Batista. We've seen others. So I would have had her and Rhea wrestling at Mania with no title. Because they could exist by themselves and have a hell of a match and a program from a rubber match. She beat Rhea. Rhea beat her. Here we go. Third match.
Mm.
And then they can exist in their own little universe for a little while. In that way, it gets them both out of the title picture and allows you to build other stars. To where when they come back into the title picture, it's like, oh, here comes let's call it what it is. Here come the heavy hitters, and they're back in there. And now, if that champion beats them, it makes them even better.
It's a bigger deal.
But as far as where you go from here, honestly, I would have Tiffany win.
Mm.
I think unless you got a plan for right after that with a Rhea or something like that to jump over, I don't know what else you do with Charlotte, because Charlotte doesn't need the belt, but I think if Tiffany doesn't win, you lose a lot of steam.
Yeah.
And you risk a lot of backlash.
Yeah, it's got to be Tiff to win. I agree there, and I would like to see Charlotte stay on that side of SmackDown and like develop something with Tiff. You know, it doesn't have to just completely be blown off at Mania. This could be a start of something, a program that we see all the way through SummerSlam. You know, especially coming off of a WrestleMania loss. Charlotte losing, becoming even more of an asshole to Tiff and challenging her and wanting to fight her. And it gets to SummerSlam. Like, I want to see something like that. And even though you are kind of keeping other talent away from Charlotte, sometimes if you're really invested in something, you gotta see it through.
Mm-hmm.
And just, from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, that's not enough time, in my opinion, to really invest and say, okay, Tiff is in this upper echelon. Like, this could just be a win. And if you move away from it, we forget about it in a year.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But if you give me a feud that's damn near, look at Punk Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Dang.
Look at Punk Seth. Like, that's been a year and a half. Like, I want to see more of those two together.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see.
I mean, you could even have Charlotte break off and have her own little quote unquote horseman. You could have her come out, and she could be the one who costs her the title later.
Mm-hmm.
She could come out and just brutal. Just make it brutal.
Yeah.
Let's make her life a living hell, right? By
Yeah.
proxy.
Make it a true feud. Make it a true feud. Like, far too often in this day and age of modern wrestling, we see too many, like, okay, fantasy booking, these two are going to be together, and then we're going to separate them, and then we're going to mix them around. And we make fun of Tony Khan for this kind of thing, of the guys just wrestling everyone for whatever reason, for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
Let's actually make some feuds, some true old school blood feuds, where these two, if they see each other, it's on sight. Let's put some realism behind it. If I have issue with you after we fight that one time, if I see you next week, it shouldn't be whatever. I should want to fight you again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be more dirty. I want to win this time. So I want to see that. I want to see that kind of stuff in my wrestling.
And I'll say this throughout all of this talk, right? We're also talking about an era where everybody's making incredible amounts of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have a whole new generation coming up, right? You have a Stephanie Vaquer. You got a Julia in NXT. I mean, they're on the brink, right? They're coming up. You got a Becky Lynch who, keeps saying in the media, I'm not coming back. I stopped wrestling. Like, let's be real. You're coming back. Right. So you have all these untapped people, and here's the old guard. So I think, first of all, embracing that, right? Saying, okay, let's do the horsewomen. I know it's probably minus Sasha maybe, but it doesn't even have to be that. It's just like, hey, let's just elevate the old guard and bring them in. Like you said, Adrian, make some blood feuds, make something significant. This already can be a blood feud for months.
Yeah.
For months, right? You don't need to do much with it.
She can make her own evolution.
Yeah.
And it's just like have her and whoever she wants, NXT or whatever, whoever she wants to bring into her little fold, and you can lead up to. I mean, literally, if you do it correctly, you lead up to War Games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the and just have her be that leader because that way I doubt she's gonna wrestle all the time.
Mm.
I doubt very seriously I don't know that she came back on a full time every week type of a schedule, maybe, but I just think that that's how you make it more compelling, especially with so many people, so much talent coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's and secondary belts and all kinds of other stuff in the women's division. It's a hell of a problem to have, y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
And they kept talking, what? Evolution 2, Evolution 2. I'm like, dude, you could just start a new show. Like, just do like, do Wednesdays.
Right, just do Wednesdays. But no, this has been a fun program today, a recording today. I think just because kind of looking through this whole process, and the one thing I love about this is we don't know what's real and what's not,
Mm.
Yeah.
and I love it,
Mm.
and I don't really
Mhm.
care. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's just so intriguing, and it's dancing that line. And if it's a very huge if, right? So Adrian, let's say you're right that was all greenlit, and then they still cut it out of their social media. That's smart too.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I was listening to Owens on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about that when he turned on Cody in the back and they had no cameras. He said that was all Triple H. He said
Genius.
point blank, he goes,
Genius.
we're not putting cameras back there. We're just going to take a risk and assume people will record it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they did.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, they did that with them too, right? The parking lot attack, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's genius. It's genius.
Yeah. 100%.
Let the fans run the narratives.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before, right? As wrestling and now without Vince there, we've matured to a point where we can take. We just talked about it too. We're so used to these feuds. Like, okay, we know all the matches, we know everything that's going. Now we can take, what we typically know, right? This is the construct. These are the tropes of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch them because everybody has an expectation now. Let's work around your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's beautiful. I know we said it many times. I can't think of a better time to be a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so good.
I mean,
and everybody's benefiting from it.
Mhm.
Everybody. I mean, I've been to women's only wrestling shows. I've been to smaller indies lately. I was at an MLW show. I was at all these, and they're packed, man. They are, and people are buying merch. This is hot right now. This is amazing. This, at least for the independents, it may be right up there with Attitude Era because of social media, because these independents can get the word out on their shows, whereas maybe before they wouldn't the same way.
Oh yeah, I mean they have a different. I think overall, I think this is better than Attitude Era, and that's controversial.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really go back and look at a lot of the stuff during the Attitude Era, there's a lot of bad stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of bad stuff.
It's almost unwatchable in a lot
So
of
much
cases.
less bad
Yeah.
stuff now, like stuff that's unwatchable. To your point.
Yeah, totally.
But
now
it was
there's
so hot
many
it didn't
stories.
matter.
No,
It's
it's
crazy. We
funny.
were just
Yeah. But what's funny now is people go, "Oh, WWE dropped the ball on this person. Oh, AEW dropped the ball on this person." I'm like, I mean, everybody can't be the champion.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like when you sit back and you truly think who could carry the WWE title or world title, I can name off 10
Yeah.
legit people that nobody would be pissed off. I'm not gonna say nobody, it's IWC, but
Right.
they'll be like, I mean, literally, you could name off 10 people and be like, yeah, they can main event SummerSlam. Nobody would bat an eye.
It's a
And
great
then the
problem,
only
man.
thing is people get mad because it's not that person or that person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about this. Main event for night one is Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and there's not a title.
Right.
Drew's in a whole nother feud. Like, it's just crazy
That's
to
wild.
me.
You're world champion for not that long ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not even in the main event picture.
No, but you could be, and that's what's wild. So you just think about the three we just named: Seth, Roman, and
Phil.
Punk.
Phil.
Then you could throw in Drew. Then you could throw in Damian.
Yep.
Oh yeah, by the way, there's still Orton sitting out here. And then there's LA Knight that if you really wanted to, you could elevate him. And then there's Jacob who's on the edge of doing it.
Oh, that's gonna be so
They're
good.
just holding him down right now.
Right.
He's like an anger pit
He's
bull
right
right
there.
now. It's like, we
His
want
little
to turn him loose.
shimmy.
Because it's not
we
moving.
want to
It's
turn him
not
loose.
time. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And if you really needed to, you could elevate AJ back up.
Yep.
You could elevate
Yeah.
Logan.
Yep.
I mean,
I hate that, but
oh
you're
my
right.
God.
It's the truth.
If they want the mainstream, they always like mainstream attention. I would get it to them.
Yeah.
But it's
like
just
a
wild.
lightning bolt.
And then the women's side is the same way. I mean, you got 5 or 6 people that could easily jump right in. Boom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I love it. And then, I
Awesome
mean,
times.
you know, it's just the other companies are still doing good business as a whole. When you watch it, I know we rag on AEW for TV attendance or ratings or whatever, but their pay-per-views are always fire for the most part, except for the ending of the last one. But great matches.
Yeah.
And they sell them out.
Yeah.
They're doing something right.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
shout
is.
out
TNA.
to Tony Storm too, man.
Totally
that's
reinvented herself.
brilliant work, man.
I'll give her credit, for going where she's gone. I give Ricochet credit for taking a risk and doing what he's doing.
Very true.
I mean, and I know a lot of times we rail on different stuff in AEW, but there are guys who are going over there and changing up and trying to do different stuff.
Yep.
I'll give them credit for that. So, yeah, it's just fun to be a fan. So, all right.
And
well,
it's the best week to be a fan.
Yes.
Absolute best time to be a fan.
Crazy, yeah.
Block out your schedule, everybody, because ain't nobody
Don't
doing
worry.
anything next week.
Oh, and then one other thing, the feud that I'm waiting for. I said this a year and a half ago, but now that she's in the WWE ID program, Izzy and Bailey is going to happen.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I'm just going to put it out there, and that's going to be fire. I'm just going to let you know. That's long-term story.
One night only hugger comes back.
Man, that's going to be wild. But all right. Thank you guys for recording tonight. Everybody who's out there, thank you for watching, for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit those comments down below. You can always go to intothebuilding.com. It'll take you right here to the YouTube page. Or if you want to hear us on audio, we're on all the different podcast platforms as well. So please hit that subscribe button. Hit us a 5-star rating. We will see you next week. And happy Mania season, y'all.